This morning we're pleased to have Dave share his faith story with us this morning with just a couple of words of introduction to that. We heard Paul in our second reading for this morning talking about sharing his faith and about how his faith had developed through his life and what that faith meant to him, and especially the sharing of that faith from generation to generation to generation to us today as well. We all have our own faith stories. And those faith stories are an integral part of who we are. So over my 30 years, I've had opportunity for parishioners to share their faith journey, their story of their faith with us. And they have always been profound moments. And I encourage you, as you listen to Dave's story, to hear it as his story, because that's what it is. But also remember that part of the story that he tells is your story too. And so find those connection points for yourself, where you can identify with your own faith journeys. So thank you, Dave, for sharing your story with us and for that message that you bring us today. Thank you.
I don't mind admitting that I'm a little bit nervous. And it's not because I'm afraid to speak in public, because that's not a problem. And it's not that I have a former student sitting here who will laugh at me if I make mistakes. But it's because I'm the third person in this series to talk. And just a show of hands, how many people have actually heard either Dorothy or Ruth give her talks? Oh, quite a few. Okay. Rats. Because they were fascinating stories. Stories about overseas and multiple continents. And I was born and raised in Stouffville. And now I live in Uxbridge. And the most exotic place I lived in was Sudbury. So I did what all teachers do when their story's going to be a little thin. I brought pictures. And I'm going to thank Beth, who's going to just sort of forward them for me. My faith story can basically be described in three phases. And the first phase is probably exactly the same as everyone else here. It was my family. I was blessed to have, to be raised by two loving Christian parents. Many of you know them. My dad's here. And my father actually was originally going to go into seminary. Changed his mind and devoted 65 years to music ministry in the church. Beth, you want to sit the first one? So that's him up there. And my mom also, every single committee she could be on, she was on. Here is, next one, Beth. My mom's speaking last year at ACW Sunday. She's not even here today because she's at Christ Church doing something. But it wasn't just my parents who were my role models. My mom's father, my grandpa, that slide, Beth, that's him there. He was a staunch United Church elder. And he was very much about integrity and honesty. And I remember spending one summer with him when I was in university. And he was about 75 then, and he and his buddies would get together every week, and they would smash glass. This was before curbside recycling. So to raise money for the church, they would collect bottles, smash it, and then sell it. It goes even further back. My dad's great-grandfather was an Anglican priest. His name was Herman Kaplan. He was actually a Prussian Jew. His father, Abraham, ran a Talmudic school in Königsberg, which is now part of Russia. But he was sent to England for his education, and there he converted to Christianity. He became a priest, was sent to many inner city, inner London schools, churches, eventually made his way to Canada, and he actually ended up his career in the Bible Society. He was one of their spokesmen. He would go around from town to town running these meetings. And the interesting thing is that in those days, small town newspapers would actually write up the proceedings of the Bible Society. So about 3 years ago, I actually found his testimony. And that it was the book of Romans that actually touched his heart and caused him to become a Christian. So I had all these role models in my family. We were a typical Anglican family. I was baptized. Next slide, Beth. Next one. There we go. So there's to be being baptized. That's the original Christ Church. It was on Main Street. It's not there anymore. That's not the church that I knew. I knew the next one. And one more. It was such a beautiful piece of architecture. We're so lucky to be here. But I ended up, that's where I went to Sunday school, that's when I went to junior choir. I was confirmed there, and of course, as a typical Anglican teenager, once I was confirmed, I graduated. So I didn't have to go anymore. So God became very low on my priority list. The second phase started a few years later, when I started to date a girl who went to a different tradition. And this church was highly evangelical, very conservative, very fundamentalist. And there were a number of things that I respected about that tradition. They believed very strongly in youth ministry. They paid youth pastors. They would have a bus that would go around and pick up teenagers Sunday morning if their parents weren't going. They had activities all the time. And I think it's a lesson that we as Anglicans still have not really learned. Their faith was very personal. As an Anglican, mine was sort of up there somewhere on a weekly basis. Theirs was daily. Teenagers could give testimony. They could share their faith. I had never seen that. And that was very impressive. They also knew their scripture. And Mark talked a few weeks ago about the importance of scripture in a person's faith journey. They would memorize it. They would be able to throw out biblical quotes to support whatever position they had. But, as time went on, I began to see that their version of the Bible was a little bit different than what I was used to. They believed so strongly that God reached down and wrote every single word. And then the book itself was encased in amber. So it could not be discussed. It could not be debated. It could not be questioned. No new interpretations were possible. And what it led to was a very Old Testament style of faith. God was to be feared, and it was judgmental. Wow. The outside world, the secular world, was not to be interacted with in any way, if at all possible. In the home, there was no TV, there was no radio, there was no music, unless it was Christian music. Their view of other Christians was even stronger because we were heretics. We had the wrong message. There was one person in that congregation who was a little more liberal, and she knew my parents. So she went to this girl's parents and said, "Oh, I understand that your daughter's seeing Dave Rehill. They're a good Christian family. They're very involved in the Anglican Church." Wow. The kiss of death. They couldn't stand me for the whole year that we went together. It was kind of difficult. But they even judged each other so strongly. I remember sitting in a sermon. They were always half-an-hour sermons. So Mark's 15 minutes is a bit of a gift. And the speaker ripped apart people in the congregation who had the nerve to think that the rapture was going to occur after Armageddon and not before Armageddon. So it was within this context that I found that I had to defend my tradition, which was kind of hard because I didn't go to church all that often. So I went back much more regularly with open eyes, new eyes. And what did I see? What did I find? People of deep personal faith. I found people who could give testimonies. You had to coax it out of them because they were Anglicans. But it was all there. I ended up being one of the members of the first Cursil weekends. Now, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Cursil, but it's actually a Catholic movement for Catholic teenagers. And we were the very first Anglican group to go through. And it was run by the Catholic Church for us. I met just amazing people. I met Ted Scott, the Primate of Canada. Some of you will remember him. His views were just so far, a generation ahead of what ours were. And then there was this man. Next one, Beth. His name was Canon Jim Cuxton. He was our honorary assistant, very learned man. He was very British, rode for Cambridge, I think. He was a missionary in India. He was an intellectual. In Bible study, he brought his Greek Bible to Bible study. He was the principal of King's College out of Nova Scotia. Wrote an economics textbook that was used for many years in universities. And I remember when I was confirmed, I was so scared to talk to him because I love dinosaurs and the whole study of early man. And I was afraid to talk to him and ask him about it. And I finally did one day. And he sort of looked at me and he paused. He said, well, the latest Ramapithecus find was quite exciting. And it fills in many of our gaps. So here was this, to me, a really true Anglican role model. He knew his scriptures, he knew his faith, he knew church tradition, and he used reason, which is one of our pillars. So it was an amazing experience. And as a result, I switched where I was going to university. I ended up going to Huron College. Yeah, which both Beth and Mark went to, and that's the next slide. So here I was able to as an undergrad, take religious studies courses, which just opened up my mind so much to the breadth and the depth of Scripture. I joined the chapel community, had a beautiful chapel community. First time I heard a cantic song. It was beautiful. Liturgy, I grew to appreciate different types of liturgy. Prayer, not prayer, meditation. The secular world sort of associates with Buddhism, but we have this long tradition of Christian meditation, and I was able to take part in all of that. So at the end of the second phase, I had gone in going to another church, and when I came out, I was the most dyed-in-the-wool Anglican you could possibly get. And that led to the final phase. We had a little bit. I married my wife, Karen. We were living in Sudbury. The next slide, Beth, is our little choir. It was the smallest Anglican church in Sudbury. We weren't very good, but we were very committed. But while we were there, Karen was pregnant with my daughter, Alexandra. About 5 months in, she came into great distress. And I remember being called to the hospital. And I was met by her mother, who was a former head of emerge. Very stoic, unflappable. She was crying. And they had given my wife about a 5% chance of living through the night. That's how serious it was. So as a devout Roman Catholic, which my wife's family is, we went to the one place she would go, which was chapel. And she had one of her friends. His name was Father Farrell. Her doctor was Dr. Farrell. They were brothers. And they were always insulting each other, sort of science versus religion. And he was very much into healing. So he brought up these little ointments, little oils. And I'm not a superstitious person. I know that the oils only represent sort of what's going on inside. But it was really the first time that I sort of totally surrendered. It was, thy will be done. I mean, just gave it over to God. And it was an amazing feeling because we exchanged the peace of Christ every week. But sometimes, have we really, really experienced it? And I feel that I did. And that was very, very powerful for me. So those are sort of the three phases of my life. The first one was molded, established by my family, and then it was sort of molded once again by events as a young man, and then to me confirmed on really the worst day of my life. So it's not multiple continents, but the next one, Beth, that sort of is me in a nutshell. With my family celebrating church history. And if we're going to be fishers of men, we might as well get used to actually telling our stories. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dave, for that sharing of your faith. As I said at 8:30, at the service at 8:30, it's a vulnerable moment to stand up and share one's journey of faith and to share some very personal moments as well. So I want to say thank you for that because, as I said in my introductory comments, I always find these to be very holy and sacred moments when God speaks to all of us through one of us who shares their journey and reminds us of our own journey and the gift of faith that God has blessed us with. So I hope that's one of the things that you take away is not only knowing David a little bit better than you maybe knew him before, but also that he's reminded you of that place in your life that faith has for you and where it came from and what it means in terms of your life today. Let's take a moment of